How many times have you gone to the guitar shop to buy a new set of strings for your favourite acts and had absolutely no idea which string gauge to choose? Well, me too, and it's taken me years and years of trial and error to decide which ones I like best. And because this is the question that I probably get asked most on this YouTube channel, I'm guessing that you might still be stuck. So in today's video, we're going to break down my favourite string gauge and why I've settled on them after years of experimentation. And we'll also look at something to do with strings that I think is probably more important than string gauge. Now, I'm going to try and keep this super short and sweet, and this isn't a video that's going to be breaking down like each different string gauge, because I think there's plenty online that do that already. Plus, I really don't have the money to be going and wasting like 4 sets of strings on my guitar, so we're going to have to make do. But anyway, there's one video in particular, this one by Rick Beato. It's him, Rhett Shull, Dave Honorato and Ken Lanyon basically sitting down and comparing 4 different string gauges. They go 11s, 10s, 9s and 8s, and they basically play the same things and compare how they all sound. They basically come to the conclusion that the lighter ones are actually better because it tightens up the lower end and actually just makes playing easier. But I think they miss a couple of things. Now, I'm not trying to dig them out here. I think it's an awesome video and I suggest you go and watch it for yourself. Actually, it's probably way more likely that you've seen that video instead of this video, so who knows. But anyway, the first thing I think they miss is actually to do with that bottom end. In the video, Rick Beato actually talks about putting a tube screamer with the bottom end rolled off a little bit in front of an amp to tighten up the bottom end. But I would say that sometimes, if you've got guitar just playing on its own in a verse or something, you almost want that bottom end. It means that you can drop bass out and stuff at the same time without having to add in EQ that's not there. I'd rather have it and then have to take it out afterwards than have to try and add something that's not there. And the other thing I think they miss is playing in drop tunings. Like, I'm pretty sure all of the demonstrations are in standard tuning. And actually, for me, playing like alternative, like indie, like shoegazy stuff, I very rarely play in standard. And actually, I know probably a load of guitar techs out there would say not to do this, but I basically change up tunings all the time because I don't have the money to buy a guitar for drop D and then another one for C and stuff. I just mix it up. So I need strings that are going to allow me to detune and then tune back up and be able to A, hold their tuning, and then B, not snap on me. And I think if you're going to play drop tunings with 9s or even 8s, it's just going to feel like super loose and like elasticy, and you're going to snap strings so easily, especially if you absolutely give it some like I like to do. And also, playing this style of music, I'm not really bending a whole lot. Although if I was good enough, maybe I would be partial to a nice tasty blues solo. So anyway, 9s and 10s are not it for me. I think they're just way too light and they're just going to snap on me all the time and it's going to be a bit of a waste of money. And when I first started playing guitar, I probably played less in this kind of style and I was like learning scales and stuff. And I used to use 9s and 10s, but then as soon as I started playing like this and I was dropping and stuff, it just wasn't going to happen. So I then decided maybe I need like the heaviest strings known to man, and I went for 12 gauge. And actually I played the Ernie ball not even slinkies, like the turquoise ones. I think they looked really cool because they actually matched my turquoise guitar. But anyway, I played them for a good few years and they really worked, they held their tuning well, and they very rarely snapped on me, which was awesome. But my God, did my guitar pay the price for that. I don't know if you can see here on this like bottom E string, it's just absolutely shredded and it's actually cut into the bridge a bit. It's crazy, and that's from playing the 12s for so long. But anyway, I still carried on using them and they were great. Until I actually needed to change my strings for a gig we were playing, but I'd forgotten to buy some. So Kieran, the other guitarist on my band, who played 11s at the time, had a spare set of strings, and I strung them onto my turquoise Jazzmaster, and it was just awesome. I seemed to have like the same control that the 12s gave me, but they just sounded that little bit more chimey and clanky and cool. And when I played with like a little bit of overdrive, it just seemed to really cut through really well. So that's where I've been hanging out since. And actually I'm using these Rot Sound 11s now, because they're a great string, and you actually get a free E string in there as well. And they're basically 11 to 48, so 48 is your bottom E string. And that seems to be thick enough for me now. I know you can get some hybrid ones that kind of go up to like a 52 or something on the bottom, but The standard 11 rotter sounds really do the trick for me. I'm pretty sure if you can't get hold of rotter sounds, the purple Ernie ball, I think they're called Power Slinky or something, they're the same string gauge as those ones. Before we have a proper look at these strings through my setup, I want to just say that I think more important than string gauge is probably just having new strings. And I know not everyone can afford to constantly change your strings, but I'd say if you're looking to like make a proper recording of your guitar, I'd definitely change your strings earlier because they just add loads of harmonics that you don't get once the strings start oxidizing. And to demonstrate that, I'm going to play with the strings that are already on this, then we'll go and swap the strings for the new ones and compare how they sound to each other. I've just changed the strings on these and I recorded the part with the old strings but forgot to actually film myself. I mean, as you'll hear, I'm playing the same part, but you're only going to get footage of me playing with the new strings. You'll have to imagine it. Okay, so I think you'll hear there that obviously on the newer strings there's a certain chiminess that you just don't get from the old ones. And actually those weren't even that old. I'd played a couple of festivals this year with my band and probably that was it, like 2 gigs or something. And maybe the videos that I've been making in here. So they haven't been like extensively gigged and they didn't have that like horrible black stuff on them from sweat and stuff. It's pretty gross, isn't it? So I think if it was an even older set, you could definitely get even more out of just changing the strings. Okay, but now we get to do the fun part. We get to play with these brand new strings through my setup. We're going to use the Marshall Origin 50, and these are the settings. We've basically got not a load of treble, because I don't really like a lot of treble. I push the mids a bit and have the bass kind of, you know, in the middle. And we're going to tune down to Dadgad, because like I said, I want something that can do standard and all the alt tunings as well. But anyway, let's tune that up and have a listen to how it sounds. Okay, cool. Do you see what I mean about it sounding like really chimey? I think they just sound like awesome. And it holds that tuning super well. There is just something great about playing with new strings as well. Like, it just feels so nice when you're moving up and down the fretboard. I think it actually makes you a better player, which is weird. Or maybe it just does in your head. Now, I don't think this would be a These Things Make Noises video without turning on a fuzz pedal and playing something horrifically gnarly that's almost drowning out the tone of the guitar. So, we're going to use our good old friend, the op-amp Big Muff, to do some damage. And to show you that these strings can hold their tuning when we go even lower, we're going to tune to one of my favourite tunings that I haven't actually used in a while. And it's C, G, D, G, B, E. And you can see, even tuning down this low, it's still holding its tune pretty well. There you go. I mean, I was hitting the strings pretty hard there, and it does wobble a little bit, but it's pretty solid, considering you can go all the way down there and then back up through to standard with the same string gauge, and without changing how your guitar's set up in the process. But I hope this has helped with you deciding what string gauge to put on your guitar to play alternative, shoegazy, indie stuff, where you're probably going to be moving in between tunings and you want something that's going to hold its tune while still having that chiminess that you get with lighter strings. And also at the same time retaining that big bottom end in case you do need it. But anyway, let me know in the comments what string gauge you're using and whether you think I'm right or full of absolute rubbish, and we'll have a discussion down in the comments. And if you enjoyed the different tunings that I was using in this video, then watch this video here next. And until next time, keep on making noises.